The assault case of EFF leader Julius Malema and EFF MP Mbuyiseni Ndlozi is expected back on the roll at the Randburg Magistrates Court this morning. The pair have been charged with assaulting a member of the security personnel at the funeral service, of struggle icon Winnie Madikizela Mandela, and that dates back to 2018. The last time they appeared in court, Johannes Venter, the police officer who accuses them of assault, said he denied the vehicle they were traveling in access as it didn't have a permit. Our reporter Mbuyiseni is on the story, joins us now in our studio to help us get a sense of what to expect moving forward. Before we look ahead, perhaps let's look back. What's taken place in court so far?
Well, of course, Ayanda, you'd know that this is a matter that began in 2018 at the Fourways Park Memorial Service when that vehicle that Julius Malema and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi were traveling in was denied access. And, of course, this issue was actually captured on CCTV footage. And this was also played out in court where we saw Johannes Venter, the police officer who was on duty on that day, denied them access. And you would see that a scuffle broke out between the two. And, you know, when we look back into what happened in court, he said that they didn't have the correct permit to be allowed inside the Fourways Park Memorial Cemetery, and he rather asked them to walk in instead. But Johannes Venter was actually questioned about this and actually asked, you know, when you were looking for the permit, exactly what were you looking for? Because there was some sort of sticker on their vehicle. And on top of that, he was also asked that whether he checked for accreditation, because Julius Malema as well as Mbuyiseni Ndlozi on that day had accreditation wrapped around their necks. So that was brought into question on that day when they appeared in court last year, and this is of course in October 2020. Now you'd know that even looking at this matter, it was a matter that was brought forward by AfriForum. You'd also remember inside court, Johannes Venter said that after that scuffle broke out, he went to the Douglasdale police station and tried to report the matter, but nothing came out of that. It was only when AfriForum actually came on board and offered to help him where the matter received some sort of attention. And this matter was, of course, supposed to be heard, the trial rather, was supposed to actually begin last year in March 2020, but there were a number of delays in that matter, Ayanda. There was the issue of COVID-19. There was also the issue as well of the lawyers asking for a bit more time so that they could prepare for this matter. But we know now, when we look at the two dates in which Johannes Venter did appear in October 2020, it was the whole issue around the permit on the vehicle, as well as whether how did he know that which vehicles were supposed to go inside the cemetery and which ones weren't allowed.
So on the face of it, it almost appears that Malema and Ndlozi are not denying that the assault took place. It's now a question of asking whether it was justifiable to do that, given what Johannes Venter is saying.
Of course, I mean, they always talk about the issue of whether, you know, if these charges are real in any way, if there was really an assault issue that broke out. And they say that their emotions were quite high on that day. They were burying the mother of the nation. And you'd know that when you look at Winnie Madikizela Mandela and how synonymous she is with the EFF and with Julius Malema, he said that he was burying his mother on the day and no one would deny him access going inside that cemetery. And also remember, there was a letter from the late Zinzi Mandela read out in court, just how much Winnie Mandela meant to Malema and just the relationship between the two as well as the EFF. So, you know, when we look at the matter now continuing, because the trial is set down for the next 3 days, we are now expected to hear evidence from Julius Malema himself, what transpired on the day. We also expected to hear from Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, just to hear their version of events, because now we've heard the version of events from the police officer who was on duty on that day.
Mbuyiseni, a story without a doubt we'll be watching with you as it unfolds. Thanks very much for that much-needed context. Mbuyiseni, our reporter who's going to be at the Randburg Magistrates Court as soon as that gets underway. We also know traditionally what's happened typically when the EFF leader appears in any context is that we see a great amount of support for him to Southside Court. If memory serves me well, that didn't happen in their last appearance, in part because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I wonder how the situation is going to unfold today.